Put the gun down.
Javier Caceres went on a deadly rampage.
We have team coverage tonight.
Several different SWAT vehicles going up and down the freeway.
Now to Kern County's weed wars.
Since the start, his death has been surrounded in secrecy.
The arrest of Arriaga is all thanks to the team effort.
That County Public Works, they were out here this morning to address the issue.
You can also keep up with this story online by following our online platforms.
We continue to highlight this issue because these deaths are preventable.
And then they are going to hoist him out of there to the safety of that chopper. That is County Fire chopper right there, that Huey helicopter.
Oh, they're ready to
go. Off they go.
Yeah.
He's got his legs wrapped around that man's torso, and he's not going to let go until he gets him safely into the cabin of that helicopter. And there you see it live, folks. Now they're just moving, the helicopter's just easing over to deposit that rescued man over onto the bank of the Kern River.
We're around the corner from Highway 184 and less than a mile away from Foothill High School. Here's what we saw within the past hour. We watched deputies, guns drawn with rifles, enter this home on Breckenridge Road within the past hour. After entering the building, another deputy ran into the building shortly after with a device used to force entry into a door. Multiple canines have been brought into the area, and it appears people are being evacuated from their homes nearby.
In the parking lot of the CBCC in the Truxton Plaza, you can see there are numerous law enforcement vehicles. The SWAT team has also shown up along with a crisis negotiator.
A two-structure fire on Forest and H Streets near Francis of Assisi Church in the Oleander neighborhood. Officials report one home was fully involved and collapsed before firefighters arrived.
We began for 17 News at 11 with an accident and fire that has shut down northbound Interstate 5 at the base of the Grapevine. This is a live look at the scene, and you can see a big backup on Interstate 5. Right now, all northbound lanes of I-5 at Grapevine Road are closed.
Right outside the AT&T building in downtown Bakersfield. Bakersfield firefighters saw smoke from their downtown location, and they responded quite quickly.
It has been so tense out here, so chaotic, with so many different agencies responding as they try to figure out what was happening. The initial response, as you said, came in just around 8 o'clock that there was an active shooter at Mercy Hospital Southwest.
Well, Kristen, it looks like the man who was shot and killed by an officer initially crashed his white pickup truck after driving through a barbed wired fence on the northbound 99. He then crashed into another fence on a side road. He then got out of the pickup truck, crossed the lanes of traffic on the northbound 99.
Officers have evacuated the area as they search for the suspect.
And about an hour and a half ago here, a semi-truck exploded. It happened a little before 4:30 this afternoon. We have one shooter, 5 locations, and 6 people dead. A series of chaotic events, one after the other.
An update now to breaking news we brought you 2 hours ago, live here on KGET and on our KGET Facebook page. This morning, the California Supreme Court released a stunning and rare decision. The 7 justices announced the death penalty conviction of a Kern County man has been vacated.
HP says the driver of a Honda attempted to pass an SUV on the dirt shoulder. The SUV made a U-turn into the car, pushing it into a canal.
It has been a whirlwind 3 hours here in North Bakersfield, right out front of Memorial Hospital, where inside nothing but commotion today. They got the potential call for an active shooter at around 1:30 this afternoon, and that's when law enforcement completely responded.
This is video that was sent to us showing the building on Gage Street near Jefferson Street just minutes after the fire began. You can see flames engulf the entire structure. Fire crews on scene tell us the home was abandoned, and this is the 3rd time they have been called to a fire here.
We just arrived on scene just a minute or two ago, and as you can see, it is a very chaotic scene here. You've got media from all around the world covering this mass shooting here in Thousand Oaks. I want to give you a little bit of a background on what Thousand Oaks is like. This is considered by the FBI to be one of the safest cities in the state, and so something like this, of course, is not just shocking the nation, but especially people here in Thousand Oaks. I'm going to give you a little bit of background on the Borderline nightclub. This was college night here last night. I've actually been to the Borderline during college night. It is a happening place on Wednesday evening. It is exciting, a lot of fun, a lot of dancing, and as you can imagine, the place was packed.
We received a call of shots fired.
I look up and I see a gunman.
Yeah, we just tried to take cover.
Just pulled out a gun and started shooting.
It's really just a bunch of kids.
As you can see, it is a very chaotic scene here.
He went in to save lives, to save other people.
And it just started going crazy. A lot of gunshots.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maddie Jansen. We begin here at noon, continuing to follow that tragedy at a country bar in Thousand Oaks, where a gunman opened fire last night, taking a dozen lives. Media coverage very intense as this investigation is still in its early stages. Alex?
Well, Maddie, we're just a little over 12 hours since the shooting began here last night in Thousand Oaks. Jim and Tammy, a lot of students here at home who've gone to Cal Lutheran, CSU Channel Islands, or Pepperdine University, like myself, know how popular the Borderline Bar and Grill is. It is a Western-themed type bar and grill where a lot of people come because they like the incredibly vibrant culture that is there. There's a lot of smiles. There's a lot of fun. There's a lot of dancing. Thousand Oaks is one of the safest cities in the state, according to FBI statistics, and this is why something like this is so shocking.
17's Kristen Price uncovered how the city is concealing out-of-court settlements paid for with your taxpayer dollars. Tonight, she joins us with the latest on the wrongful death case of an unarmed police informant killed by the very officers he was assisting. Kristen?
Jim, from the beginning, details of the death of Jorge Ramirez Jr. have been kept under wraps. Even after I discovered a settlement earlier this year, the city wasn't talking. The settlement specifically ordered the city and Ramirez family to not release details to press. In February, city council members, the city attorney, and police chief held a closed-door meeting on the lawsuit. I waited outside, but city officials said they could not confirm any action on the case. City Attorney Ginny Gennaro said disclosure on a settlement is not required until the City Council approves it. Well, today I discovered court documents indicating the settlement has been approved, but the city has yet to release any details. Gennaro only says a court date has been set to explain why the case has not yet been dismissed. We also contacted the law firm representing the Ramirez family, but have not heard back as of news time. We will continue to push the city for details of the latest secret settlement. As soon as we learn more, we'll let you know. Kristen Price, 17 News.
We continue our coverage tonight of a secret settlement in the deadly officer-involved shooting of an unarmed police informant. We broke the story last night that the City Council approved a $400,000 settlement. Without our digging, details of this case would not have been made public. It's a case surrounded by secrecy from the start. 17's Kristen Price joining us now to explain. Kristen?
Tammy, last year we discovered the city was using a loophole in the law to hide out-of-court settlements of misconduct cases. The settlement in the Jorge Ramirez case is the latest example. I spoke with his family today about their search for justice.
First time I looked in your eyes, I knew that I would do anything for you.
This is how the Ramirez family remembers the 34-year-old father of 5.
He loved his family. He loved us very much.
Jorge Ramirez Jr. was shot and killed by Bakersfield police outside the 4 Point Sheraton on California Avenue in 2013.
There's much more to come that you don't know about.
Former police chief Greg Williamson discussed the investigation a month after the deadly officer-involved shooting. But what happened has never been completely explained. Williamson said Ramirez was working as an informant, leading officers to fugitive parolee Justin Harger, a claim the city later denied, saying there's no paperwork to prove it. Adding to the controversy, it later came out disgraced BPD detectives Demasio Diaz and Patrick Mora were involved in making Ramirez an informant. Diaz and Mora are in prison for federal drug and conspiracy convictions. During the case, Diaz admitted to working with informants off the books.
And if that is not enough, I don't know what it is.
Jorge Ramirez Sr. has worked tirelessly to seek justice for his son.
You know, I lost faith in the system completely. I believe that justice has not been served.
He says he wants the officers to be criminally charged.
The money doesn't matter to me. I mean, I would be happy today if we can continue to fight this fight.
The city agreed to pay the Ramirez family $400,000 in an out-of-court settlement. Part of the agreement ordered details of the settlement be kept secret. But that's public money, so we filed a request under the Public Records Act, forcing the city to provide information.
The only option they gave us is to say, here, and go away. That's basically what they've done.
But the Ramirez family says this isn't the end.
I would give anything to have my son back today, and I know it's not real, but we're never going to give up this fight.
In recent years, the city has not settled a deadly officer-involved shooting case for more than $400,000. Kristen Price, 17 News.
More allegations, new felony charges as 17 News investigates Kern corruption. Good evening and thanks for joining us here for 17 News at 5. I'm Tammy Melchak.
And I'm Kristen Price in for Jim Scott. We continue our coverage tonight of Kern corruption with arrests of 2 former sheriff's deputies. Last night, we exclusively reported the Kern County grand jury indicted Logan August on more than a dozen felonies. Today, August and his ex-partner Derek Penny were arrested. The Kern County grand jury handed down a secret indictment Wednesday, charging Logan August with 15 felonies.
Quite frankly, I wasn't aware that an investigation was in the process until I was contacted by you.
August and his former partner, Derek Penny, were previously sentenced to 3 years probation on a federal drug charge. They never spent a day behind bars. The new charges in Kern County Superior Court could result in prison time.
Kern County may have condemned an innocent man to die.
Let me say that again. A Kern County jury may have sent an innocent man to death row, where he has been for 26 years now, for a crime he didn't commit. That possibility is now being considered by the California Supreme Court after state prosecutors admitted, quote, false evidence was used to win the conviction. 17's Olivia Lavoie spent the last month examining this case. She's the only reporter anywhere working on this story, and she has this exclusive report. Olivia?
Jim, no one knows what the court will decide, but if the questions by the justices and oral arguments are any indication, there are grave concerns that a man may have been wrongfully convicted and sent to death row. The court might be preparing to set him free. Now, we want to warn you, some of the content in this story will be disturbing to some viewers.
The people who live here in this apartment complex say they're shocked to find out what happened.
3 months before her second birthday, Consuelo Verdugo suffered major internal trauma to her body. She spent 8 days in 3 hospitals, treated by a dozen doctors. The question that needed to be answered, how did this little girl die?
It was here in this quiet Delano apartment complex that the most brutal child abuse case in the city's history took place.
It is difficult to believe that someone would do this to another human being.
The man accused of killing the child, 42-year-old Vicente Benavides. Prosecutors told a jury that back in November 1991, Benavides was babysitting his live-in girlfriend's 2 daughters, a 9-year-old and 21-month-old Consuelo. The day turned tragic when Benavides said he found her outside, struggling to stay conscious. The only visible sign of injury was a bruise to her forehead. Doctors at Delano Regional Medical Center realized the baby had internal bleeding. She was transferred to KMC. KMC doctors determined the toddler had trauma to her genitalia and rectum. She was taken to UCLA, where she died. During the autopsy, it was determined Consuelo died in a horrific manner. She was raped, causing severe internal damage. Vicente Benavides, a quiet farm laborer from Mexico with no criminal record, was charged with first-degree murder in the course of rape.
Does it matter, really?
The prosecution's medical experts, including KMC's Dr. Jess Diamond, stated the girl had been sexually assaulted.
Yeah, it challenged a lot of my religious faith big time.
Gordon Jones was a juror.
I just couldn't, in my mind, fathom someone killing, and in the fashion they did, a baby like that.
We, the jury,
He is the lowest form of human life,
the murder of Consuelo Verdugo,
and I'm certainly not going to change what I call him.
was committed by the defendant Vicente Figueroa Benavides,
Child rapist killer.
while the said defendant was engaged in the commission or attempted commission of rape.
He should be put to death for his crimes.
She had a lot of trauma and died from trauma. All in inflicted within 15 minutes of time at the very least.
Each juror voted for death, except for one.
The last holdout was me for the death penalty.
The jury foreman had a request.
He asked the bailiff to have the judge to send in the pictures of that little girl again. They circulated those. And then he said, if that doesn't call for a death penalty, what does?
This is where this case takes a big turn. 9 years ago, one of the prosecution's expert witnesses made a startling discovery. According to this declaration, Dr. Jess Diamond says in 2009, he was able to review all of Consuelo's medical records that weren't provided to him in 1991 or 1993. Diamond says after reviewing all of the medical records for the first time, he no longer believes the child was sexually assaulted. Furthermore, he says the cause of death determined by the pathologist is medically impossible. Dr. Diamond's change of opinion has sent a shockwave throughout this case.
Dr. Diamond was present at the autopsy. I'm not sure how to say it. Opinions 20 years later that don't seem to make sense given the jury's verdict. It's troubling. We still have a dead child here that there's no one really speaking for.
All this time, this has went by. I even dreamt a lot about that trial. And we come down to this. And how are they going to hold another trial based on what? If they had no trial to begin with, based on what? This is like unbelievable.
We interrupt this program to bring you breaking news from the state Supreme Court in San Francisco, a decision on Kern's questionable conviction. Here's Maddie Jansen and Alex Fisher.
And good morning from the 17 newsroom. We are breaking into programming with stunning news from the California Supreme Court in San Francisco just moments ago.
The state's highest court has accepted arguments that a Kern County man was falsely convicted and wrongfully sentenced to die. Olivia?
Maddie and Alex, the 7 justices of the state Supreme Court said that the false evidence in this case was so overwhelming that the conviction had to be reversed. Jim, it was an emotional scene here just an hour ago. Vicente Benavides, now 68 years old, walking out of these gates, a free man for the first time in 26 years, walking off death row and into the sunshine with a beautiful view of the San Francisco Bay. He was greeted by friends, family, and the attorneys who have been by his side for decades. There were lots of hugs, and Benavides posed with loved ones, posed for selfies with loved ones. Now, his family spoke of how the wheels of justice have turned slowly for Benavides until today. Just hours after charges were formally dismissed in Kern County, Benavides was a free man. Kern County District Attorney Lisa Green said Tuesday she believes Benavides likely still had something to do with the girl's death, but she doesn't believe he's guilty of what he was convicted of in 1993. She said winning a new conviction would be next to impossible, especially after the Supreme Court justices said false evidence was used to win his conviction. Now, Benavides is a Mexican national who was here in the country on a work visa when he was arrested in 1991. His family says he had only been here for a matter of months before that arrest. Most of his family is still in Mexico. We know they are very anxious to get him back. But today, family members who are scattered across the state rushed here to be here for the moment he was released. They are absolutely ecstatic to have him out to celebrate his first night as a free man in over 26 years. Reporting live from San Quentin State Prison, I'm Olivia LaVoice, 17 News.
New at 5:30, it's a sad, strange mystery, kind of a reverse cold case. The rapes and murders of 2 young mothers. Investigators know who the killer is, but even after 38 years of trying, even with a lot of clues, and even with the best of modern science, they don't know who the victims are.
So, tonight, we're going to try a different approach. In the spirit of victim advocacy, we're trying something like crowd sharing. Our Olivia LaVoice has a report tonight we will make available to every television and radio station, every newspaper and magazine, every blog and every podcast in the Western U.S. But you'll see it here first. Olivia?
Jim, when you hear about the DNA and the fingerprints and the tattoos, you'll be amazed. These poor women have not been identified, but they haven't. We hope to use the power of the internet in this case. Someone somewhere knows these women. scorching heat smothered Kern County in the summer of 1980, just before the almond harvest. On July 15th, the body of a woman is found bloody and battered in this orchard on the outskirts of Delano. She had been raped and stabbed to death. 3 days later, detectives in Ventura County find a woman's body sprawled in the Westlake High School parking lot. She too had been raped and stabbed to death, 5 months pregnant with a son. Years pass. No killer found and no names for the victims. Then, 21st century DNA technology cracks both cold cases, connecting both crime scenes to one man.
Anybody that has to put their arms up and protect themselves from a flurry of stab wounds, that's pretty brutal. Someone was really angry with these girls when he killed them.
Police say they know the person who was the last to see these women alive, Wilson Schuest. DNA links Schuest to the rapes and stabbings. He's currently on trial for 3 murders, including that of the unborn baby boy. But that's not what this story is about. We're focusing on the victims. It appears after nearly 4 decades, no one even knows they were murdered. Friends, family, nobody has come forward.
Doctors, dentists, children. These women were known to someone. Each were likely abducted either from Kern County or the California Central Valley, and neither seem to have been in trouble with law enforcement.
Well, their fingerprints aren't coming up. If they'd been to jail, they'd have been fingerprinted.
DNA isn't much help either. The database law enforcement uses, CODIS, holds DNA of convicted felons. There were no matches for either woman. Further testing on the DNA of Ventura County Jane Doe's unborn baby to see if the baby is related to anyone in the criminal database yielded no results.
She had very distinctive tattoos because in 1980, not a lot of women had tattoos, and certainly not colored ones.
Kern County Jane Doe has clues to her identity right on her body, something that sets her apart from other does from decades ago.
But they are professionally done.
I heard that it was pretty rare for women to have tattoos back in 1980.
Especially a big one like that. She either had to run with the hippies or bike club.
Seattle, the place she once called home, or a name that could hold cultural significance if Kern County Jane Doe is Native American.
I think those tattoos are key. The name Shirley, I think, is key. And who would type Seattle on their arm? What does that mean? Well, I got in this job to help people. Sending these girls home, I think that's the most important thing. They need to be with their families, not laying in a potter's field.
They need to be with their families. We couldn't have said it better ourselves. So we're going to try something no one has tried before. Jim?
All right, Olivia, that is right. We're going to try something like crowdsourcing, crowd sharing. And we need your help. First, we aren't going to copyright Olivia's story. We're going to offer it free to every television station in California, Nevada, Oregon, and Washington State. We especially invite our friends at Channel 23 and Channel 29 to use this story. It would be awkward for them to have Olivia in their newscast. If that is so, we invite them to edit her out and run the information without her. Our sister station, Telemundo Via Central, has created a Spanish language version of this report for any station that wants it.
And we have created a web page with every scrap of information on this case. We'll make that page available to anyone who wants it. Every newspaper, radio station, website, anyone. We've created a public service announcement and are offering it to every TV and radio station, again, that wants it. Here at Channel 17, we pledge to run that PSA every day for a year at the very least.
Well, the latest homicide is a grim milestone for Kern County, the 100th homicide of the year. And that number will likely increase with cases still pending and 28 days before the end of the year. A snapshot of crime, a look at the scene and a rundown of the facts does not provide the full picture. And that's why we created the Homicide Tracker. We saw the need for a comprehensive place where information is available. It's an online database that follows cases from investigation to resolution. The Homicide Tracker gives insight into the trends, where the killings happened, why, and most importantly, who the victims were. Stories that otherwise go untold.
Kern broke records last year with the highest homicide rate in the state and the most homicides in our county's history. But this year is shaping up to be even worse. On average, someone is killed about every 3 days in Kern County. There's been an increase in the number of double homicides. In 9 cases, 2 or more people died, including a mass shooting.
Put the gun down.
Javier Caceres went on a deadly rampage in September, killing 5 people, including his ex-wife and co-workers, before turning the gun on himself. This homicide made national headlines, but not all of these cases garnered as much attention. In June, Vincent Valdez and Samuel Atkinson were beaten to death, their throats slit and bodies set on fire near the entrance to an Arvin vineyard, a horrific crime that remains unsolved. It's one of more than 50 cases unsolved this year.
Of course, anyone would want to know why. You know, why James? Why kill him?
James Kolstad was shot and killed leaving a small house party in southwest Bakersfield. He's now known as one of the Bakersfield Three.
James was a person that walked into the room and it became 100 times brighter. James had a personality that everybody loved. And when people talk about James's death, they can't believe it because they can't believe that anybody would want to kill him.
His mother has been outspoken to find justice for her son and others, organizing a rally to bring awareness to unsolved cases. So far this year, 8 victims have been children under 18 years old. The youngest, Abel Norwood, was just 2 months old. His parents have been charged with first-degree murder. Since we've been keeping track of homicides, 93307 has been the deadliest zip code. That's again true so far this year.
To see the stories of each victim and statistics, go to our website, kget.com, and click on the homicide tracker icon. The California Department of Justice just released crime statistics for last year. Those stats show our county has the highest murder rate in the state. But the truth is even worse. The KGET homicide tracker proves local police agencies are significantly underreporting the number of killings.
On our homicide tracker, you'll find the names and stories of 101 people killed in Kern County last year. But the state reports only 89 homicides. Our records show in 2017, there were 6 deadly officer-involved shootings. But the state use of force report only cites 4. So we dug into that data to find out why there was a difference. Bakersfield police did not report 2 deadly officer-involved shootings to the Department of Justice.
Once again, it's time for us to send out a huge thank you to our viewers. Organizers say just over $25,000 was raised, exceeding their goal.
And we've got an update for you on how much money was raised. The challenge raised $15,000 and they're still counting. A huge thank you to you. More than 7,300 pounds of food was raised yesterday.
Well, a lot of burgers were flipped and a lot of money was raised during today's barbecue fundraiser for the Bakersfield Homeless Center. Today, the Homeless Center raised more than $23,000 after serving 2,500 hamburgers.
Well, Kern County unleashed their love yesterday on homeless pets. We teamed up with the SPCA for the annual adoption drive and fundraiser outside of our studios. $8,380 was raised, and all 16 dogs and 1 cat at the drive found new homes.
On Wednesday, we asked you to come on out to our studios and donate a fan.
A lot of us don't have enough income to get a fan or a cooler or something to help us out, so it really does help us out.
God bless them for giving us the fans.
God bless you indeed. In all, 600 fans were donated, along with $3,000 cash to buy even more.
An incredible turnout for today's barbecue to benefit the Wounded Heroes Fund. Nearly 1,000 pounds of tri-tip was cooked, which translates to about 2,200 lunches. After expenses, $18,000 was raised for the Wounded Heroes Fund and will be put toward programs to help local veterans.
As we wrapped up this afternoon for the Sheriff's Activities League barbecue fundraiser, and so far, over $9,000 was raised for the event. The organization offers free programs to kids in an effort to keep them off the streets and help them become responsible, productive members of the community. We here at 17 News and the folks at Sal thank everyone who came out to show their support by grabbing a tri-tip sandwich.
As we teamed up with the Alliance Against Family Violence and Sexual Assault for a tasty fundraiser. The money raised will help fund services for child and adult survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault. And by all accounts, today's event was another sizzling success. Today's barbecue brought in $16,000 for the Alliance, thanks to all of you who turned out in the spirit of the Golden Empire. Our annual holiday food drive outside our studios, and it was a big success. You helped bring in nearly 15,000 pounds of food and donated $4,000. Throughout the year, KGET distributes more than 12 million pounds of food.
On the 17th day of Christmas, we wrapped up our annual toy drive.
It's really wonderful because there's so many people in need right now. There's so many mothers here. Over 100 children who sleep here each and every night at the homeless center.
Well, hundreds of local seniors will have a very Merry Christmas thanks to your generosity at today's Stuff the Bus drive. We partnered with Christmas for Seniors for the day-long event. The goal was to collect items like crossword puzzles, 2-ply toilet paper, and other items for low-income, homebound seniors to make more than 1,500 Christmas baskets.
We wrapped up our 17 days of Christmas toy drive earlier this week, and today the toys were given away to the children at the Bakersfield Homeless Center.
It's a really difficult time to be homeless. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of fear and worry. One of the things you don't need to worry about is what's Christmas going to be like.
3, 2, 1, reveal.
Sure. Oh my goodness.
We did it.
Wow, easy.
$100,100.
You did it. You did it again, Kern County.
Wow.
I'm just, no, I'm not at a loss for words, that's for sure. Robin, come on in here in the middle. What's going through your heart right now? I mean, that was a lofty goal you set.
I don't know if I can contain my emotion. It's so exciting. I was nervous that we weren't going to get there, and I'm so thrilled. Kern County always answers that call. When we say that we have a need, they always answer the call, and I'm just so grateful that we were able to do this today. And thank you both, and thank you to all of our Miracle families who worked so hard, and to all the talent that worked so hard to help raise money, and especially to Kern County who came through for us. We're so grateful.
Congratulations to you. You put your heart and soul into this every year.
She said it all right there. Once again, Kern County, you came through, you rallied, and we're not surprised. No. Thank you very much for all you do and for your giving spirit. We appreciate it. That's the news for now. Thank you for being with us.
This is quite a thrilling ride.
It's going to be an exciting night, but first let's get right to some results from the big races we are watching tonight. Let's take a look at this.
Congratulations.
I just want to wish you the best on this.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
What does this mean to you personally, though?
You know what? I went into this not telling anybody that I was doing this.
Yes, we were all surprised.
Everybody was surprised. Nobody knew.
Coach Mion, good luck tonight. Coach, good luck. Do your thing.
Cool.
Hopefully we'll get it done in 2 weeks, December 15th.
Definitely.
We'll be playing for the title.
Yeah, we can get to that snow up north, hopefully.
There you go. All right. Lori, Mary Kate, I'm going to toss it back over to you to the all-women tag team tonight as you guys get it done.
And oh, my goodness, did we have a good time. You got to take a look.
It's opening day!
The Kern County Fair is back.
They're giving us a sample.
And this year, we're trying everything.
Oh my gosh, are you seeing that? Chuck, this is vanilla bean goodness.
People start asking out, maybe throw on some hot Cheetos. So we just basically crush them up and throw them on top of the nacho cheese, and it adds a really good, like, spice flavor to them with the combination.
I'm into this. I'm into this. The folks at Spiral Fries go through something like 3,000 potatoes in one weekend. There are hot dogs, funnel cakes, Chinese food. While the Boy Scouts serve over 100,000 baked potatoes during the fair. Turkey legs are my favorite food in the world.
You are holding the gator.
Allie and I are becoming quick friends. From animals and adrenaline to performances and prizes. This year, the fair expects 450,000 people will walk these grounds to get in on one of the most anticipated events of the year. So you guys, I think that you all know when I come to the fair, my favorite thing, the turkey legs, perfect timing. And last year, believe it or not, before the fair was out, I bought 8 turkey legs. Yes, 8. Okay, so I decided to meet the guys who were taking all my money this year, and I'm gonna kick off this fair.
One thing the Zamboni does is it sprays down hot water and it picks up a layer of ice to smooth out the ice.
Let's stand on up and keep that front toe in the air so that board is tilted.
The shade here, trying to keep cool. Oh my gosh, there's a bee.
Uh-oh, it's a bee attack.
Started landing on me.
All right.
Okay, I think we can
No more
end this
shade
now.
for
Let's
you.
end this right now.
Fair friends forever.
Oh, is that so sweet?
Hey, happy Thanksgiving to both you and Tammy. I didn't see you guys yesterday, obviously, because we were off. And thank you to our general manager, Derek Jeffrey, for having us off. And we're also off on Christmas, too, so that's cool. Joining me now is Coach Perucci, Shafter Generals. Haven't won since 1955, the section championship. And Coach Perucci was telling me you were on that team, right, Coach?
Oh, yeah. It was a long time ago. I've actually aged really well. Botox is an amazing drug, I tell you.
So if you need to get down to LA, I would suggest leaving now.
Last night's showers brought not flowers, but flooding Friday, according to Kern Public Works Engineering Manager Mark Evans.
But last night we had a rain cell that came through Bakersfield and moved east up into the Caliente Basin. It dropped a lot of rain there, and that's really what caused the issues this morning.
Mudslides also caused some trouble early this morning on Highway 223 when some drivers were stuck in the mud. A few big rigs got caught in the mess, according to CHP. Caltrans closed off 223 at Highway 58 near Towerline Road.
We'd still love to see your photos and videos from this week's storm. You can email them to our newsroom at 17news@kget.com. Live an early winter wallop across Kern County as snow falls in our local mountains, closing the Grapevine this morning as rain hammered the valley with local flooding as well.
Ready to go home. Motorists traveling across the Grapevine experienced an extra long commute this morning.
Since very early this morning, I'm stuck here.
Kern County as a whole has been under a wind advisory since this morning, and the wind blowing over several trees.
It's almost like when you open the oven door and then you feel that big breeze of hot air roll on in. That's what we're seeing right now.
There's a lot of people out there that misses him.
I am pleased and very proud of the fact that the suspect is in custody. He has been apprehended in Bakersfield.
Officer Singh's handcuffs were brought down, and they're on that guy for his trip home.
A blue alert issued in California the day after Christmas. Canceled as cops converge on Kern County. In their sights, the suspect accused of killing a police officer in Stanislaus County. We have 17 News team coverage of the arrest as a statewide manhunt ends here. Plus this.
It is wet. Roads are slick. Very treacherous driving conditions tonight.
What's devastating to me is knowing that someone who was that talented, someone who cared so much about the community and other people, is gone.
Remembering one of our own, as the television industry is shocked by the sudden death of KTLA Morning News anchor Chris Burrows. We look back on his time here in Kern County as anchor for 17 News Sunrise.
The valley will see its first hard freeze of the season tonight. What that means for local citrus growers.
And good evening to you. Thanks for being with us here at 5 o'clock. I'm Jim Scott.
And I'm Kristen Price, in for Tammy Melchak. We begin with breaking news we've been following all day as a nationwide manhunt for the man accused of killing a police officer in Northern California ends here in Kern County. Let's get right to the dramatic image of 32-year-old Gustavo Arriaga in handcuffs, arrested just north of Lamont. And as you heard Sheriff Donnie Youngblood say, the handcuffs on Arriaga belong to the police officer he's accused of killing. The deadly shooting happened in the city of Newman on the day after Christmas in Stanislaus County. The arrest 56 hours later, about 200 miles southeast here in Kern County, just north of Lamont.
Officials say Corporal Ronil Singh was shot during a routine traffic stop. Corporal Singh immigrated to the U.S. from Fiji. He leaves behind a wife and a 5-month-old son. Surveillance images of the suspect and his truck flooded TV screens up and down California, and a blue alert was issued by authorities as the suspect remained at large until today. The slain officer's brother very emotional as he thanked law enforcement for their tireless efforts.
Wish I could thank all the law enforcement agencies, Homeland Security in San Francisco, everyone, Bakersfield team. I was waiting for this to happen. I'd like to thank you, working day and night to make this happen. Thank you.
Meantime, the sheriff of Stanislaus County confirming the news minutes before Officer Singh's brother broke down.
He was safely taken into custody earlier today by teams from the Kern County Sheriff's Office and many other law enforcement agencies who have helped us relentlessly pursue this suspect in pursuit of justice.
We have team coverage tonight of this intense drama that ended here in Kern County, including 17's Karen Waugh with details from Sheriff Donnie Youngblood about their quick call to action when they received the tip. But we begin with 17's Eitan Wallace and a wild night just north of Lamont in what is typically a very peaceful holiday week around the world. Eitan, good evening.
That's right, Jim. We're about 10 miles south of Bakersfield and just a little bit north of the town of Lamont, specifically here in the community of Hilltop. Now, this behind me is the house where law enforcement arrested Gustavo Arriaga early this morning. Neighbors are telling us they were awoken by the raid and heard it all.
I got woken up at 7:30 this morning to the sounds of, this is the police, you know, come out with your hands up.
Neighbors on the 5200 block of Brooks Lane describing an early morning KCSO raid that led to the capture and arrest of 32-year-old Gustavo Perez Arriaga. He's the man accused of gunning down Newman police officer Corporal Ranil Singh.
There was trucks everywhere, SWAT trucks, police everywhere.
Also in on the raid, the bomb squad. Neighbor Twyla McCullers says deputies knocked down her fence during the operation.
And they said they had to come onto my property so he couldn't escape from the back door of that house over there.
Just after 8 this morning, Arriaga was arrested at this house. And this afternoon, TV 17 cameras captured what appeared to be 2 men and a woman entering the house and leaving shortly after. Neighbors say the 3 are relatives of the suspect and are from a family that got good reviews from those who live on this block.
Well, it's just the parents and their 2 daughters and a son-in-law and their grandbaby. And they're good, hardworking people. You always see them go to work and come home, and they have never been into any trouble or never caused any problems. It's a big surprise.
A surprise in a neighborhood described as safe by those who live here. Neighbors say they're relieved the ordeal here appears to be over.
They assured me that everything's safe now. So we're okay.
Now, before the raid took place, KCSO says they had a 24-hour surveillance on this house behind me. That's according to also the Stanislaus County Sheriff. We should also tell you, meantime, that KCSO confirms Arriaga was arrested without incident. We're live here between Bakersfield and Lamont in Hilltop. Eitan Wallace, 17 News.
Thanks, Eitan. We now turn to what we know about the suspected shooter, 32-year-old Gustavo Arriaga. 17's Karen Waugh is live from the Kern County Sheriff's headquarters with that part of our coverage. Karen?
That's right. It's here earlier this afternoon when the Kern County Sheriff's Department held a press conference giving all the details they had about the suspected shooter. Sheriff Donnie Youngblood saying the arrest of Arriaga is all thanks to the team effort, the partnership between the Stanislaus County and Kern County Sheriff's Departments. For 2 days following the killing of Newman Police Department Corporal Ranil Singh, both Stanislaus and Kern County Sheriff's Departments circulated this surveillance photo taken at a Newman convenience store of the suspected shooter, asking, who is this man?
When you use a firearm against a police officer, you can run, but you can't hide.
Now we know 32-year-old Gustavo Perez Arriaga has 2 prior DUI arrests. His social media displays egregious Serrano gang affiliation. And Stanislaus County Sheriff Adam Christensen says Arriaga is in the country illegally, caught while fleeing to Mexico.
If he wasn't here, then he wouldn't have been driving drunk, and it wouldn't have been reported to Officer Singh, and the encounter, the stop, the enforcement stop, potentially never would have occurred. My point is, why are we providing sanctuary for criminals, gang members? It's a conversation we need to have.
But as Kern County Sheriff Donnie Youngblood believes,
The immigration status, to me, is not what was most important in this case. This is someone that we believe engaged a police officer with a firearm and took his life.
once KCSO obtained a warrant for his arrest, Arriaga surrendered peacefully when he saw the bomb squad and SWAT teams. Also in the Hilltop residence where he was hiding, 6 others, according to KCSO, 3 of whom were taken into custody.
Bernabe Madrigal Castaneda, Hispanic male 59, Erasmo Villegas, Hispanic male 36, and Maria Luisa Marino, Hispanic female, 57, all from Bakersfield.
Villegas has a charge of driving without a license in 2009, but the other two do not have court records in Kern County. And Youngblood says he believes more arrests will come.
Throughout this investigation, we believe that several people helped this suspect get to Kern County.
The Stanislaus Sheriff's Department also arrested 2 men for being accessories. Arriaga's brother, 25-year-old Adrian Virgen, and Arriaga's co-worker, 27-year-old Eric Razo Quiros. Arriaga will now be transported back to Stanislaus County, where he will be charged with homicide.
Officer Singh's handcuffs were brought down, and they're on that guy.
So if you have any information on this ongoing investigation, you are urged to call KCSO at 861-3110. Reporting live at the Kern County Sheriff's headquarters in North Bakersfield, I'm Karen Hua, 17 News.
And a Stanislaus Deputy Union is rallying support around the Singh family. The Stanislaus County Sworn Deputies Association is collecting donations for the Singh family. The donations can be made online or by sending a check. The website is stanislaussworn.com/donation. Checks must be made payable to the Corporal Ranil Singh Memorial Fund. Donations can be sent to the Stanislaus Sworn Deputies Association at the address on your screen.
Now, today's news conferences were very emotional as 2 sheriffs spoke on their roles in this investigation. Those news conferences just hours apart, some 200 miles apart, as both Kern County Sheriff Donnie Youngblood and Stanislaus County Sheriff Adam Christensen informed the public about their departments' respective roles in this manhunt. We've posted both of those news conferences in their entirety on our website, KGET.com.
Today, we're also mourning the death of former 17 News anchor and KTLA Morning News staple, Chris Burrows. Police received a call yesterday afternoon at a Days Inn in Glendale about a man who had passed out. Glendale firefighters responded and found Burrows inside a room not breathing. Authorities say they performed CPR and rushed Burrows to the hospital where he later died. Police say Burrows' death is being investigated as a possible overdose.
We're waiting for a toxicology report to come back from the coroner's office. Until we get that, we won't be able to tell what the cause of death was. It is currently being investigated as a possible overdose.
Burrows worked at KTLA in Los Angeles since 2011. In a joint statement, the KTLA general manager and news director expressed their shock and sadness. It read in part, quote, "He will be remembered as a great journalist and a wonderful friend to many. He brought a kindness to his work and will be deeply missed by the entire KTLA family." Burrows' death came as a shock for many journalists across the nation, including our news team. He was part of the Circle 17 family for 5 years and a reporter and anchor for 17 News at Sunrise. 17's Alex Fisher has a look back at his time here at KGET.
Chris Burrows was here at KGET from 1999 to 2004. I spoke with Tammy Melchak and Robin Mangren earlier today about Chris Burrows and his time here with 17 News.
You're watching 17 News at Sunrise with Chris Burrows, Tammy Melchak.
He would always come in the morning excited to get to work, loved breaking news, just really loved his job, really loved the news business.
Good morning to you. Happy Friday.
Yes, it's finally here. Good to have you along with us.
Team coverage tonight, beginning with our Chris Burrows, who's standing by live along Interstate 5 with the big picture.
It is wet. Roads are slick.
When Chris Burrows arrived, he was in his early 20s and here at Channel 17, and he was driven, he was motivated, and he was talented.
Top story this half hour, the Valley Air District has turned down a proposal that would increase.
Chris was here at a time when journalism was probably at its peak.
Chris had a good heart. He always wanted to get the viewers involved. He loved doing the interactive feedback that we had where people could weigh in. $2 more every year to the state to help clean up our air. That's the topic of our 17 feedback.
I think the impact that it had on his life was that he met his wife, Mai, here.
giving it to you. There is no stopping this storm, apparently. It is dumping rain here all across the valley floor. You can take a look at the drive. Very slick, very dangerous.
You know, people feel like they knew him because he did put himself out there.
Definitely wish we would have brought the gloves tonight. These fingers are starting to feel like icicles. Tough conditions all across the Golden Empire.
I think it's a big loss, not only for LA, but for Bakersfield and for all the markets that he worked in. But I really feel, you know, mostly for his family.
He was always looking for that spark in someone that he might be able to bring out in a story. It was devastating.
Chris Burrows leaves behind his wife and 9-year-old daughter. He was 43 years old. In the newsroom, Alex Fisher, 17 News.
It felt like somebody punched me in the stomach this morning when I learned of this. Chris Burrows was extremely talented. He could do it all, and he was extremely driven, and he will be missed not only by the people in this newsroom, but of course his colleagues down at KTLA. Our thoughts and our prayers are with my Doe Burrows and their daughter, Isabella. While one manhunt ends, another continues. Tonight on 17 News at 6, we will hear from the woman who had a dangerous encounter with the inmate who escaped from San Quentin prison. Plus this.
My family and I try and spend time with each other no matter what, so we didn't think that this was like a big deal.
Still ahead, the great lengths this father went to so he could spend Christmas with his flight attendant daughter while she was on the job.
And the Secretary of Homeland Security touring the border as the president makes a new demand. As the border wall stalemate continues to shut down our federal government. That story coming up.
Temperatures getting colder and colder. We started out today at 35, and now we have a hard freeze on the way. We're going to talk about that next in Pinpoint Weather.
Welcome back. The big freeze is on its way. Alyssa standing by in the Pinpoint Weather Center with all you need to know.
First one of the season as we end the month here. Usually we'd see this around the beginning of December, but it has been put off, and now we are looking for a hard freeze. Not only tonight and into Saturday morning, but again Saturday night into Sunday morning. And this is for the valley, especially those rural areas. We expect to see temperatures between 28 and 32 degrees for an extended period of time. So a lot of farmers are choosing to irrigate, put some water on those crops, hopefully warming it up a little bit. And at this point, it looks like the citrus crop will be fine, but we'll be monitoring that closely over the weekend. Currently looking at 49 in Bakersfield after a daytime high of 51. 55 our average, so we were a few degrees shy of that. And 41 is where we're at in Lake Isabella. Only 28 in Tehachapi, 32 in Fraser Park. The outlying areas will see some of the coldest temperatures of the season as we head into tonight and again tomorrow, and that's following the system that passed on through yesterday. So we have some colder air out of the north coming on in. Right now, 49 degrees, our humidity value at 59%, the dew point's at 35, winds are out of the south-southeast at 8, and we are looking here at high pressure offshore. That is producing here a clockwise flow rather, and that clockwise flow is bringing in that cold air. So that cold air from the north continuing to filter on in tonight with little cloud cover. We will see those lows drop down into the 30s here in the valley areas. Rural areas, Wasco, Shafter, Delano, you will see temperatures in the upper 20s at times throughout the overnight hours. So yes, make sure that you do protect your plants. If you have any sensitive vegetation, bring in the pets tonight. And it's always a good idea to check on the elderly in conditions like this. No rain in sight for us. We will watch as some showers will continue in the Pacific Northwest as we head into the weekend, but our weekend looking dry under high pressure. So lows tonight, as I mentioned, in the upper 20s, lower 30s. It's going to be a cold one. Tomorrow, a little bit higher, though. We'll rebound to mid-50s from Porterville to Bakersfield at 56 degrees. Into the 20s and lower 20s tonight in the mountains. No snow, though, continuing to be dry. Temperatures tomorrow into the mid-50s and then mid-40s as we head into Tehachapi, Stallion Springs, 44 degrees. Out into the desert, not quite as windy. Winds will be out of the north at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Moderate air quality at 55. No wood burning restrictions, and your pinpoint forecast looks like this. We have mid-50s the next couple of days. We'll ring in the new year on a cold note, and then looking for some frost as we head into next week. Overnight lows will be into the mid-30s, daytime highs in the lower 60s next week. In the mountains, mid-40s to upper 40s, mid-40s to kick off the new year. lows near freezing. Kern River Valley, mid-50s. Dry conditions for the next 7 days and overnight lows near freezing. So the big story obviously is the cold, the freeze, and we'll continue to be dry, which is good for travelers as a lot of folks are still away for the holidays. But at this point, they'll be adding a little bit of moisture to those crops, to the trees, and to things to try to warm it up a little bit. Otherwise, we'll see some potential issues there with frozen oranges, which is not good.
Some sleepless nights ahead for our citrus growers.
Yes,
no doubt
exactly.
about it. Okay, thanks.
For hundreds of thousands of federal workers, today could be their last payday for a while, unless Congress and the president break a budget stalemate over funding for a border wall. The latest on negotiations after the break.
And more than a week after a man's body was found in a burning car here in Kern County, one of the two men charged in the crime makes his first appearance in court. That story coming up.
We're back with your 17 Core Watch. A man suspected of burning a murdered man's body pleaded not guilty in court this afternoon. Samuel Rivas is facing 2 felonies, including arson, after being booked into jail on Wednesday. The sheriff's office accuses Rivas of trying to destroy evidence linked to the murder of Ricky Ricardo Rivas. Rivas' body was found inside a burning vehicle at the corner of Virginia Avenue and Tyree Tolliver Street. A second man, Albert Castillo, is charged with murder.
Turning now to news making headlines around the nation, the Department of Homeland Security continues to deal with the fallout after 2 migrant children from Guatemala died while in government custody at detention centers on the border. Washington correspondent Alexandra Limon reports tonight that the DHS secretary plans to visit the border and the president is amping up his fight for a border wall.
DHS Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen plans to spend the weekend at the U.S.-Mexico border, starting in El Paso, Texas. Back in Washington, President Trump canceled his Florida vacation because of the government shutdown, and he continued to demand that Congress provide taxpayer money to build the border wall. President Trump tweeted yet another threat to close the southern border entirely. Experts say that could cost the U.S. up to $1 billion a day. Mick Mulvaney, White House budget director, says the president is serious this time.
All options are on the table. Listen, it's the only way we can get the Democrats' attention.
And the standoff over the border wall caused parts of the government to start shutting down 1 week ago. And so far, there's no solution in sight. In fact, lawmakers left town. The administration blames soon-to-be House Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
She's unwilling to actually do anything until she gets her speakership. She's more willing to protect that than she is to protect our borders.
President Trump also tweeted a threat to cut off aid to Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador for not stopping migrants from leaving.
3 of the most violent, deadly countries in the world with some of the highest rates of murder, femicide, and domestic violence.
Joanne Lynn with Amnesty International says cutting off aid would likely make conditions worse for people and could compel more migrants to come to the U.S. In Washington, Alexandra Limon, 17 News.
Today, federal workers received their last paychecks until the government reopens. Friday's paychecks cover the days before the shutdown began. About 420,000 employees are working without pay, including members of the Coast Guard, some TSA employees, and correctional officers. Another 380,000 people have been sent home. The EPA is set to run out of money at midnight. The Smithsonian Museums and the National Zoo will close on January 2nd, and FEMA says it won't issue new federal flood insurance policies or renew expiring ones. And the Liberty Bell is back open for visitors through the weekend thanks to a Philadelphia tourism agency. Visit Philadelphia donated $32,000 to reopen 2 historic sites, the other being Independence Hall. Officials say this is one of the busiest times for tourists in Philly, and they didn't want visitors to be disappointed. Tonight, America says goodbye to its oldest surviving veteran. New at 5:30, we look back on the life and service of Richard Overton.
And cerebral palsy robbed her of most of her motor skills, but she's still bringing her artwork to life. See why seeing is believing in tonight's 17 Health Watch. Next.
We're back with your 17 Health Watch. A Michigan woman was diagnosed with cerebral palsy when she was just a baby. However, that diagnosis hasn't stopped her from pursuing her dreams of being an artist. And now some high-tech tools are allowing her to create in a whole new way. Kayla Clark reports.
At the Soul Studio in West Bloomfield, art and inspiration are around every corner. It's where you'll find Felicia Bowers hard at work.
I was 13 years old when I first wanted to do art.
She uses an eye gaze device called Toby to type out sentences with her eyes. It gives her a voice.
I use my Toby and my eyes to talk. Sometimes when using my Toby, I take longer to respond. I love talking to new people.
At Soul Studio, artists with special needs work with professional facilitators and volunteers. Felicia faced a lot of challenges.
My body doesn't work very well. I can't control its movements.
But the staff was determined.
Friendship Circle's attitude is yes, we will figure it out. You want to be here, we will figure it out. And they started with attaching like a Velcro to her foot and letting her paint. Then they tried a helmet, and we tried to laser cut attachments to make it a little bit more sturdy for her head.
But they wanted to do more.
Now it must be 7 months ago, we had a staff meeting, and I turned to Adam. I said, Adam, Felicia has been here for a year and a half. We've got to figure out, there must be something out there. She loves art. What could we do?
They devised a way to use her Toby to allow her to draw. It's a painstaking process, a marriage of technology and teamwork. Felicia draws lines using her eyes while her partner adjusts the digital canvas.
Do you need a little more zoom? Let's go all the way up. Bring it right down along there. That's going to give you that kind of shadow on the shoulder.
Sometimes people underestimate me. My art helps people understand me. I want people to learn about love and freedom from my art. My advice to other people facing challenges is to never give up.
Bowers hopes to someday get married to her boyfriend and continue to pursue her art and sell more artwork.
Wish her the best. Well, it won't break the bank, but it will certainly hurt. Details coming up on the huge penalty that must be paid by Wells Fargo Bank for past misdeeds. And from natural disasters to man-made chaos, 2018 was filled with catastrophe and controversy. 2018, the year in review. When 17 News at 5 continues.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at 5:30.
Welcome back. By most accounts, 2018 was a turbulent year that saw several natural disasters, coast to coast, and political turmoil, as usual, in Washington.
Jay Gray takes a look back at many of the headlines making stories of 2018.
Didn't expect that reaction, but that's okay.
It's been a year of the unexpected, unpredictable, and in some cases unbearable. Winds, water and flames cut a devastating path across the country in 2018. Mudslides and fires out west, the Camp Blaze swallowing the town of Paradise. Dozens were killed in the deadliest wildfire in California history.
Extreme is not even the right adjective to use anymore. It's just an understatement because fire is so explosive now in California.
A volcanic explosion on Hawaii's Big Island fueled rivers of lava that flowed for months.
Oh my God.
In Missouri, summer storm sank a duck boat. 17 tourists drowned in the accident. Deadly hurricanes ripped across the southeast.
This is something that we have not seen before.
Florence stalling, flooding the Carolinas. Michael surging to a Category 4 storm, the strongest hurricane ever to hit the Panhandle. A storm of controversy continued to build in Washington, from President Trump's meetings with North Korean President Kim Jong-un and Russian leader Vladimir Putin to trade battles with long-standing U.S. allies. Another ally, Saudi Arabia, and its crown prince accused of ordering the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. President Trump accused of turning a blind eye. While the political fight at home was over Congress, the Democratic Party grabbing control of the House, Republicans holding on to their majority in the Senate on a history-making night that saw more than 100 women, a record number, win congressional seats. Along the border, strict immigration enforcement separated families before the White House under mounting pressure reversed the policy.
The testimony you're about to give
There was an emotional showdown of the newest Supreme Court Justice, Brett Kavanaugh. The administration celebrated his eventual confirmation and what the White House called other important wins, including a restructured NAFTA trade deal, a strong market and economy, and unemployment numbers reaching 50-year lows. Washington did set aside its partisan bickering briefly to say a heartfelt and emotional goodbye to former President George H.W. Bush. The world cheered the Olympic spirit and competition in South Korea. But the biggest sports victory of the year came far from the playing field. Trapped in a cave for more than a week with floodwaters rising, 12 players and the coach of a youth soccer team in Thailand pulled to safety. Kids were pulled into the streets of the nation's capital and cities across the country, mourning friends lost and demanding change.
It's time for victims to be the change that we need to see.
As gunfire again ripped through schools across the country, 17 killed in Parkland, Florida, 10 murdered at a high school in Santa Fe, Texas. Shots rang out on more than 24 campuses. And inside the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, where 11 worshipers were killed. 12 were gunned down during college night at the Borderline Bar and Grill in Thousand Oaks, California. And 5 people were shot and killed while working at a community newspaper in Annapolis, Maryland.
They loved us and we loved them. We're like a tight family in there.
A family refusing to be cast as victims. The Me Too movement saw a Hollywood power broker arrested and once beloved superstar convicted of sexual assault, while an actress took on a new historic role. American Meghan Markle marrying Prince Harry, the couple announcing 5 months later the Duchess is expecting, as the world now looks to the expectations of a new year. Jay Gray, NBC News.
And tune in Monday night because we'll have a look at the top headlines of 2018 in Kern County, from the breaking news to the moments that brought us together. We'll have a 30-minute year in review broadcast on New Year's Eve at 6 p.m.